What is up, guys? Welcome to this week's episode. We got Luke Jackison from Constrkt. We actually covered a whole bunch of topics on this episode, but it included how you could be more efficient in order to make more profit, how to pick your clients better and look out for those red flags, as well as how to deal with your stress when all shit's falling apart. How do you get yourself to push ahead? All of that on this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's go. What is success to you?
I think it was a learn to love it experience.
And there's always pitfalls that you can fall in, but then you've got no one else to blame but yourself.
Number one thing if you're struggling is to catch up with people about it.
I am very, very excited to share with you guys a brand new partnership we have been working on for quite a while. I would like to personally welcome the team at Forte to the Better Builder family. This episode is brought to you by Forte, specialist in refined timber surfaces for inside and out. From elegant flooring and paneling to durable cladding and decking, Forte delivers unparalleled performance where it matters most. Their products are crafted to elevate every space, combining natural beauty with technical precision and enduring design with innovation. Discover more at forte.co.nz. Luke, thanks for coming on, man. I want to hear a bit about, I know like very little about you, which is like the best. I know obviously of your company and I've seen you guys around, Constrkt, very prominent company. I've even had people like, I'd be like, who should I get on? And there'd be like a list of builders and you'd be always on there.
Oh,
Can I
nice to hear.
get these guys on? So that's always good to know when you're recommended.
It's always nice to be like, you know, in this industry to be recognized by your peers.
Yeah.
You know, because, people look at us as, like we're all competitors, but it's really not the case. You know, like we're all rooting for each other because we all understand how incredibly complex and stressful and kind of unfair our industry is on all of us that are running businesses. So like when you get feedback like that from other guys, it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's good. And so let me hear a little bit about your background. Like I say, I'm driven by my curiosity. So the less I know, the better.
Well, before I start answering these questions, who am I speaking to as far as your audience? Like, what's your demographic that you have as listeners? What are they?
It depends on like what platform you kind of get your demographics from, but it's generally around 40% are like business owners, like construction business owners. And then whatever the numbers are, say 25%, 30% are like just qualified chippies. Yeah. Then there's maybe about 15% odd apprentices. And then whatever's left over is kind of like auxiliary, like architects or like sub-trades or people just that has a family member that's come on the podcast. So, but it's mostly, it's quite heavily slanted towards people in residential construction, either the business owner or qualified or apprentice.
Yeah, right. I thought I was kind of expecting it to be probably more skewed in the young tradies or the apprentices kind of field, like figuring out how to do it or what's going on, and they're making decisions in their career.
Yeah, but that's true. It is there. It is if you kind of combine them with the qualified guys that are constantly thinking like, where do I see myself in the next 5-10 years? Should I start my own gig? Are there sort of other areas that I can go into? And that's why I always love getting, and we'll talk about your other endeavors, because I love getting people on that was like a builder, but now they run like a flooring business, or now they like do something, there's a guy landscaping or a pool business. So builders can always see there's other opportunities, plenty of opportunities for a qualified builder in terms of career.
Yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, we should go into that because people need to, guys that are in the trade need to understand that their skill set, it bridges many different industries, and some that they wouldn't even think of, ultimately, in our training, we don't learn to be builders, we learn to be master problem solvers, and that transcends, all sorts of careers, and you'd be better at it than what you think.
100%. And builders are great with having the right attitude, willingness to learn, and all of that humility. So talk to me a little bit about. I want to hear about your background because that sort of paints a bit of a picture around who you are as a person. Because obviously you're not identified by you being a builder. You mentioned off.
No, background in what respect? What are we talking?
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in South Auckland for a time. I didn't have what you would call the conventional upbringing. It's not something I really tend to speak about a lot, but for the context of what we're doing, I'm more than happy to.
Cool.
Yeah, my upbringing was kind of full of turmoil, if you like. Was in quite a, we're essentially a beneficiary solo mum situation from when I was like 1 or 2. But lived in a very psychologically and physically abusive household for many years until I was about 14. And that kind of jump between South Auckland and then the North Shore is very, very transient.
And did you have family members on the shore as well that you?
No family members. It was just kind of me. And later on, I think once I was about 10, a younger half brother that I was looking out for during that process, until I was extracted out of that home by the police, an intervention there. And that was like 14. And then from there, so that was like high school age, right? So just started high school. Super excited, like Takapuna Grammar. So how to get in this school? I was in the accelerant class of all things at Takapuna Grammar.
Wow.
How I landed that. But unfortunately only there for 3 months, and then went through 5 different high schools in 3 years.
Wow.
So really, really missed out on that whole, your high school friend group that you get to carry through into later life. It was a very transient upbringing. So, I look back at it now, and my ability to like speak to new people or like make friends with new people or just like relate to anybody is definitely come from that. Having to like be thrust into a new pool of thousands of kids and like try and make your way for a few months.
Yeah.
That's kind of my like upbringing in a nutshell.
So so obviously, okay, so it's a very very different, a lot of big juxtaposition for the architects out there that like that word. Big juxtaposition between South Auckland and obviously Takapuna Grammar. Was it a scenario of, was your dad not around?
Yeah, I mean, he wasn't allowed access, and it wasn't until there was an actual intervention by Child Youth and Services that he was able to actually get access. So I ended up going and living with them and meeting my 2 sisters, which was amazing. But as you can imagine, being inserted into a family that's been going for years, as a 14-year-old, that comes with its challenges for everybody as well. So that didn't really last long, and I was out running my own ship at 16, trying to find my way out of home. So it was real sink or swim, learn on your feet, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like a tough time, 14. That's like a time when you just sort of, I remember moving here from South Africa to New Zealand when I was 15. It's such a time when you're just sort of coming into yourself, and it's such a shaky time where you need to have some reinforcement. And if you have good parents, they generally provide that reinforcement so that you don't sort of like tilt too much to the left or the right. But when you don't have that, it must have been quite. Yeah. What was that like? Was it like, were you just sort of like, I'm on my own, and you sort of harden up and just...
You sound like a therapist. Am I getting charged for this? You guys got to send me an invoice?
there's like some elements I could probably like relate to you. That's probably what I'm thinking. It's like, it's
very isolating, right? So, through that period, transient, new schools, new families, and then out on your own, shunted out on your own really, really quickly. It's very isolating. You've kind of felt, very alone, which a lot of us feel, I think, in many capacities anyway, but just, to an extreme degree. And that kind of carried through all the way through life, you know, because you didn't have that sustained friend group and kind of like built friends over time. But, you know, when you go through something that full noise as a young person, it takes a long time to kind of get your head around, you know, and live enough life to be able to actually reconcile it and process it and kind of put it behind you. I don't think I started doing that till I was like 32. You know, recognizing patterns of behavior and be like, why am I doing this? And kind of like thinking back and piecing like, you know, two and two together and be like, yeah, okay, and starting to address it from there.
Yeah.
Like right up to that point, you know, extremely lonely existence, even when you feel like you've got people around you, because like no one can relate to that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, even if they like want to or like want to support you, it's great. That's amazing. But being able to actually, you know, relate is almost impossible.
Yeah.
You know?
What, when you, like later in life, when you look back now, like what was some, because when you're at that age, when you're young, and it's very easy to just brush over it. That's all good. It just is what it is, my story, whatever. But when you're getting moved around, there's no sort of foundation. It's very shaky. And you're just constantly getting put in front of new people. Like what are some of sort of the coping mechanisms that you had to like pick up throughout that time that you can kind of see now looking back that were maybe some positive, some negative, you know?
Coping mechanisms.
Survival mechanisms.
Well, I think you're just in survival mode, right? Like very much so. You know, you kind of take things on in front of you as you see them coming. Very much living in like fight or flight the whole time. So you're just trying to be as instinctual as possible, you know. Quite guarded as well, because I mean, it's not something you can really talk about with people, you know. Especially if you're just meeting them, and then you're just meeting new people for, you know.
Yeah.
And every 6 months is just new people, so it's not something that you really talk about. So like, you know, and this relates to, I think, many young guys in the trades, you know, at the moment and for years before us, is you just kind of bottle it up and deal with it, right? The best way that you can, and that just comes out in behavioral manners that you don't necessarily recognize at the time, but do your best just to kind of like hold it together, you know. But I look at that now, that whole period as a real silver lining, you know, for me personally, because it's where I got my drive from, right? Like I didn't want to be in that position ever again. I didn't want to have a family and, you know, be on the benefit, or I just didn't want that for my life. So I was going to literally do whatever is possible and take on as much as I need to do and work harder than everybody else to make sure I didn't end up back there, you know. So I'm extremely grateful for the early difficulties, because it just shaped my work ethos. It shaped my decision making, you know. After that, I didn't really see risk as risk. I was like, yeah, let's go, you know. Like,
Yeah.
What's the worst that can happen, you know? Like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Like the worst thing is not even as bad as you going back.
No. I was like, look, this shit's easy. Like, let's get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's very much shaped, you know, the directions that I've gone in. So I'm extremely grateful for that. Although I wouldn't wish it on anybody else, my worst enemy. Extremely grateful for having to go through that nice and early and getting it out of the way. You know?
Yeah, get it out of the way. What's your relationship now that you've been through that? Because you can go either way. You know, it's the one thing of like someone's parents like an alcoholic, 2 kids, one kid becomes an alcoholic, the other one never touches alcohol. You can kind of go either way, right?
Yeah.
And so what's your association now? Because if you have that, if you have a childhood that was very much fight, flight, very much high drama, you know, always kind of drama, like, you know, high adrenaline. What's your relationship with that now? Like, did you kind of go the opposite way when you kind of like, I don't want any drama in my life, and you're picking a partner, I want someone that's chill, I want, how did you sort of navigate that?
Good question. I work very hard to eliminate, where at all possible, any unnecessary drama, right? Like, I love having people around me. I love connecting with people. I'm the guy that's on the phone, like calling my mates while I'm driving, like, hey man, like, how are you going? Like, just checking in. Like, but any unnecessary drama, like gossip, any of that stuff, you basically just get deleted. I just can't. There's no place for that. It's so unnecessary, and there's so many better things that we could be doing with our time when we're connecting with each other than I like people that talk about goals and talk about ideas and things and activities. If you're the kind of person that's talking about other people, that doesn't really sit with me anymore. Just distance from that. I kind of know who I want to be around. I want to be around people that inspire me, that motivate me, and make me laugh. If I'm not laughing doing anything that I'm doing, it's not worth doing.
Yeah, I love that. And what's your relationship now with your mum, your dad? Like, do you have any relationship with him now? Or
yeah, not so. Once I got extracted out of there at 14, I haven't been back for good reason. So that was 23 years ago. I'm 37 now. So I haven't seen her in 23 years. Actually, just a few weeks ago. My little brother that I actually left behind in there, which was a hard pill to swallow.
With your mum?
Yeah. Actually reunited with him in Australia a few weeks ago on the Gold Coast. He reached out. He's like, "Oh man, you coming to Gold Coast?" I was like, "Yeah, we're coming for a gig and coming to do a radio show over there." He's like, "Oh, sweet. Like, love to catch up." I was like, "Oh, it's going to be amazing." He told me once I left kind of his experience, which ended up being very, very similar to mine, sadly. I was kind of hoping that maybe, that it kind of, changed their way of thinking or approach towards the children, but unfortunately it didn't. So that was very sad to hear, but was really wholesome for the both of us to get to like catch up and share some stories and tell him about his dad, because didn't really know much about him and all of this kind of. It was beautiful. It was really, really cool.
That's so cool, man.
Yeah. So got another brother back on board, which is
that's so cool.
Not something that you expect to go when you're going to a festival in Australia. Come with another brother. So it's pretty.
So that was kind of cool. That would be cool. Was it like a little? Did you kind of fly out thinking like that was great? Like,
100%. We were both just like, man, this is the best thing that's happened to me in a decade. Like, this is so cool. Like, you can't buy that experience. It's so enriching for the both of us.
Yeah.
And it was really cool. Like when you go through something like that, you hear plenty of stories of people that have had some kind of traumatic experience when they're younger, and that really do go one or two ways, right? They just like gun it and they swim or they sink. And it was really interesting seeing what he had done with his life and how much drive he had as well. It was very much the same as me. It's like, oh, that's so cool to see.
That's
awesome.
Nothing
Nothing more heartbreaking than see it go the other way. But he was showing me his businesses, and he was super intense. Like, my man, that's so cool.
Like, that's my brother.
Gotcha,
that's my bro.
boy.
And he lives over there.
He does
on the Goldie
with his family now. Actually, he's got two twin daughters and his partner. So I'm looking forward to going over there and spending some time with them.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Have you got children?
No, that hasn't happened for me yet.
Okay. Well, hopefully.
I'm sure one day.
Yeah.
But there's you need to find a partner that works with. And there's always three pillars to that. There's like your two different types of attractions, and then there's circumstance, and just haven't had all three. It always seems to be something not right timing wise or whatever. So I'm working on it, mate.
I'm on it. That's good, man. And the things are, like we always say here, like things always work out how they should. And you look back, you always look back in the rearview mirror and you go, that just
after the last couple of years, like kind of, I just kind of leave it up to the universe now, and like everything, like the amount of sequence of events I've seen just kind of roll into the next and all happen the way they should. Like, right, well, I'm going to just take hands off the wheel now because someone else has got it well in hand. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. doing the best I can, and I'm sure it'll all work out just fine.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to look at it. Before I move on to the things, so in terms of I just find it's very interesting because similarities in that. But like, how do you, if you haven't talked to your parents in that so long of a period of time, how do you is there still like unforgiveness?
I have a great relationship with dad and that side of the family.
Yeah.
That's although it didn't really work too well when I was there for the first couple of years. Being a teenager and like we wouldn't expect it being a teenager, right?
Yeah, of course not.
It took a little bit of time, but then like we were actually able to build a relationship from not knowing each other,
Yeah.
And that's taken like quite a while, but it's in like a really, really great place now. My two sisters and my stepmom, we're family now. We operate as a normal family unit, which has taken a little while to get to, but really, really grateful to have to be able to experience that, even though it's later on in life. Knowing that if I have kids, they're going to come into this little like safety net of network of people. It's really, really nice.
That's awesome, man. That's good to hear, eh? That's good. Everyone's got such a different story. It's always kind of interesting because that's kind of what makes the person, you know what I mean? You
100%.
mentioned...
Yeah, whether you're willing to admit it or not.
Yeah. And to be honest, that's probably connected also to, I love a bit of bro science, psychology, but that's probably connected also to the fact that you love variety and you love, because you moved around so much when you were young, and it's kind of weird for you to think that, okay, you know what? Look, you're going to do this one job for the next 30 years. That'll probably drive you nuts to think that.
I find it very difficult to sit still, and it's like literally sitting still. Like this is
long.
This is hard. Literally sitting still, staying in one place for too long, doing one thing for too long. I'll give some. I'm like all or nothing. I'll give it like all of my energy to get it to a place where it's good, and then I can like move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I guess that's probably remnants of a transitory upbringing and not used to sitting in one place for too long. But I'm also like super grateful for that because I'm sure that's spurred my passion for travel that I've had over the years and experiencing new places and new things. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, I can relate 100%. So talk to me about when you then left. How did you what was the path to getting into construction? You mentioned before that were you in the army or?
Yeah. So at 16, when I left school, I had to get a job. Funny story. A friend of mine's dad. He actually ran I applied for the army. I was like, right. Well, I'm going to do this. I think that's when Afghanistan was kicking off at the time. Like,
let's go,
lads. Pew pew. So I went and joined the infantry, and they wouldn't take me until I was 17. So I had like a little bit of like a 6-month period 8-month period that I had to fill in. So a mate's dad ran a debt collection agency of all things. He's like, "Oh, come and work for me in the call center." I was like, "Well, I got nothing else going on." So yeah, I'll go and do that. Within 3 or 4 months, I was 16. Ended up running this call center, like. The supervisor of like 30, 35-year-old dudes, which was an interesting experience that they weren't too happy about. But it was like my first experience of like, excelling at something and having older people around you, like, not agreeing with it. So that was an interesting, but also like not something that I could do forever. It was just an experience of like, oh, cool. It was coming into summer and I got offered a labouring job up in Whangaparoa, of all places, through for a friend of family, and that was kind of the start of it for me. Working. I mean, you're up those ways. Whangaparoa Peninsula, in summer is a stunning place to be.
Yeah, beautiful views everywhere.
Beautiful beaches left, right, and centre. And if you're into fishing and all that, outdoor, it's all accessible. So like labouring with them was kind of the start of it, and where I kind of cemented some really good memories about that job, that trade. We actually did the that was when the Crisco house was getting built, which was which was the now called like the .com mansion, right? Which was
now the Zuru families.
We actually we did the waterproofing on the underground escape tunnel that went from like the wine cellar out to this little garden shed underground, the snaking, which old mate apparently didn't use when he got raided, which he probably should have. That's why we built it. Or whether
it was built exactly for that reason.
He didn't know about it. I don't know. Couldn't get down there fast enough. But that kind of did that at that time before going to the army, and then joined the infantry. Did that for a year and a half, which was different.
What was that like? You come back from this sort of like wild upbringing, childhood, then you go into the army, and then it's like cut your hair. So you loved it.
It was just like, it was extreme physical challenges every day. It was like the perfect outlet, right? All they were trying to do is implement controlled aggression into you. So took whatever aggression you had and then just kind of made it slightly more controllable for them on order. So that was, that's where I really cemented the discipline and work ethic that I then held, for the years after that.
And you welcomed like the structure aspect of it.
Oh, it was great. I look back at it now and I shudder. I'm like, how did I do that? But like at the time, as a young man with nowhere else to be, and they were feeding, like the food was exquisite. Like you had a bed every day. Yeah, they yelled at you, but you got to do heaps of press ups, shoot guns and blow things up. It was amazing. Like they did really well at it. Like got top recruit in core basic training, and then top soldier in core training.
Epic.
They were lining me up to do some pretty cool things. When I kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what, this has been great, guys, but all of this whole like sitting around in camp for months at a time and sleeping in the bush for 3 weeks, not being able to talk in the rain and greymouth, I was like, this is getting tiresome. I'm sitting in the bush, like literally sleeping in a swamp for the night. Everything's soaking wet, and all I can think about is digging holes in Whangaparoa and like how glorious that was with your shirt off in the sun. It's like I think I want to do something else.
Let's go back.
That's literally where it came from. And I like gave them a call. I was like, hey, at the time it was actually Marty Highland building contractors, great builder based up in Whangaparoa. Called him up, said, hey man, you think you can give me an apprenticeship? He's like, yeah, absolutely. So I put in my papers the next day and did the process, and then straight back to Whangaparoa.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of how it all came about. It's quite a funny sequence of events.
That's awesome, mate. I was like, what's the worst thing? Is it like sleeping in a swamp or digging a hole,
Yeah. I mean, get me on a spade. I love it. Like, I mean, and funnily enough, in some of the training that we're doing in the army, like you literally had to, before you went to bed at night, you had to dig a full like a 6 foot wide hole that was, about 4 feet deep. And that was kind of like for you to sleep in for the night. So I was like pretty good at that. Yeah. So straight into it.
Good training.
Always get to bed before anybody else.
Yeah, I know. That's awesome. So, so did you do your whole apprenticeship there with Whangaparoa, or did you move around?
I did. Yeah, no, I did my full apprenticeship with Marty Highland, and I look back very fondly on that time. An exceptional builder. Taught me some really, really cool things that I've then carried through into my business now. We wouldn't be in the position that we are hadn't I had that particular skill set that he passed on. So
what were the big ones that he kind of focused on?
Efficiency, economy of movement. He was very, very big on that. If you're walking to go get a tool out of your wagon, make sure you've got a full full armful of rubbish to dump in the bin on the way past, and then grab your thing. And then if someone else needs something, or you need, make sure you, at 10 steps time, you're going to need some material, make sure you grab that on the way too. So you're just minimizing your movement around site, the work harder, not smarter, but actually work faster by doing less. And that really stuck with me. So that was, that was cool, and actually just like moving fast. Like I never seen someone move so fast on a building site. That guy, even as a I think at the time maybe like a mid-40s guy, just running rings around us. It's like oh shit! It was very impressive, and that just stuck with me. did my full apprenticeship there, and then actually went to work for you. I think you've had him on this podcast recently, Tony Fraser at House of Nautica.
Yeah. Love Tony.
So, look, I was looking for another place to go. Finished my apprenticeship, kind of, I needed a change, and I just Googled like Auckland Building Company most awards, and House of Nautica came up, and it's like, oh, yo, and I'm looking at it. So I called Tony. Like, hey mate, he's like, hey, yeah, I think you should hire me. It's like, what? Like, yeah, I think you should offer me a job. He's like, all right. I was like, look, put me on a low rate, 3-month trial, and then if you like what you see, we can talk. He's like, oh, okay, you really backed yourself. I was like,
you stumped him almost.
Yeah, I do. It's like, okay, sweet, I love it. Let's go. And then did a bit of time with Tony and his lads, and that was really cool as well.
So how long did you work there?
Probably maybe like a year and a half, and that's when the Christchurch earthquake happened. And licensed building practitioner came in. And I was one of the first to get my licenses in anticipation for going down to Christchurch, because Tony set up a team down there to start helping. And that was my intention, and I was kind of waiting to go and waiting, and the ducks hadn't quite fallen into a row yet for that team to be down there. And I kind of changed my mind, and 2 weeks later I had a flight booked to London and got a job site managing some pretty high level builds over there.
Cool.
Yeah.
So many people that have come on this podcast have been over there actually. Did you have a great experience?
Yeah, amazing. I did more working than I did traveling. It actually really advanced my career. I was doing 80-hour weeks at some point.
You just ended up working on such like a lot of premium
we
work?
were building this house. It was 4 stories. Dug the basement out, so it was 5, and it was right on the edge of Hampstead Heath. I don't know if you know the area up in Hampstead.
But it's a fancy.
So it's basically where all the celebrities would live, right? Like Ricky Gervais used to walk past our side every morning, like, hello lads. Like, it's like you go up, grab a coffee, and Chris Martin and Gwyneth Paltrow would be up there. You go for a run, like ran past like Emma Thompson, like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Love Actually, like they all kind of lived. That's the kind of area, and the house that we were actually building at the time, which I found out halfway through, was for the guy who ran all of the logistics for the Israeli army.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yes,
it's a big house. That's why it's such a big house.
Yeah, so I didn't realize till we started fitting out at the end, and like the bomb-proof windows started to going in, and like the bomb-proof door, and like all of the security. So, whoa.
You're like, this must be triple glazing or something.
Fortress, like. So yeah, it was like I'm fortunate enough to work and to work with a really, really talented guy, like probably the most talented builder I've ever met in my life. He doesn't look like a builder; he looks like a scientist. He literally has a chemistry degree, and just loves building so much. And I was kind of site manager to him, like being kind of overall project manager on site, and we just built it together. This very, very involved technical project. I learned so much from him. That was such a magical time, like in my career, to be able to like progress it.
Yeah.
From just being a qualified guy, into like a real proficient and confident site manager.
Cool. Yeah, a lot of guys, like, they kind of leave here, they go over there. A lot of Kiwis and Aussies as well. And then it just fast tracks their careers when they come back. They all of a sudden.
Well, it goes one of 2 ways, right?
Yeah, it can go the other way too.
Yeah, it can go the other way pretty quickly as well.
Next thing you know, they're like, I've been 8 years in Croatia. It's a lot of guys. I guess you kind of build a bit of confidence up, when you come back. You feel like a different person, I assume, when you come back.
Yeah, I think building in another country does that. You see the way that other people do it, and you can get proficient in that, and just broadens your perspective on everything, and kind of gets you out of that narrow vision that is the New Zealand building code and what we do here.
Yeah.
It just kind of opens you up to, hey, there's actually other ways to do this, and you know what? There's actually better ways to do this as well. So you really start questioning, are we doing the right thing here? Can we be doing better? Can we be using some of the things that those guys are doing to make either our faster to build, or better quality homes.
Yeah. It's like the first step to progression, is questioning something.
Yeah. Well, part of our our core values at Constrkt, and I don't want to talk about the business too much because it's not really here. It's not a marketing exercise for us.
No, but I want to hear a bit. I want to hear a bit about it.
One of the things we we implemented was core values, and one of them is learning. Always asking questions, constant improvement. And we, no matter how far you are through your career, you should always be questioning things. Is there a better way to do this? Like even when the boss tells you to do, when I come in and tell you to do something, if you got a better idea, you air it out. Like let us hear it, man. Because if you might be the apprentice, but if it sounds and it happens more regular than what you think, it kind of catches you off guard. Like,
yeah,
it's a pretty good idea. Like, let's try it like that. Like, nice one, kid. Well done.
yeah. When it goes against you, so they're really confusing. But I want to hear a bit more about Constrkt.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people that listen and they want to hear, they want to hear what's happening behind the scenes. So talk to me a little bit about that. You guys have been around for about a decade or so, a little bit longer.
Yeah, we're coming up to our 10th birthday.
Yeah,
which is quite the milestone. For us, especially when you look back across it all, how did that happen? Wow.
And how big the classic question at a barbecue, right? How big is your team?
Yeah.
Who works there and what are the roles?
So there's 6 staff members at the moment. We've fluctuated over time. At the moment, we've been 6 for a while. That's including myself, and I have a remote office manager.
Yeah.
Who's been with us for 6 years. She's amazing.
And when you say remote, where does she just work from home?
She's in the Philippines.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Okay. So she's
it's worked really well for us. Yeah. It's been, not having to have an office for an office person.
Yeah.
But obviously the efficiencies that come with having a remote person from a financial perspective, but also time-wise, she clocks on at 11 and doesn't clock off till 9. So if I'm doing stuff in the evening, I've got her there with me the whole time, just bang, 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 bang.
Cool.
So it ends up being, it's worked out really, really
so
well.
So when people think, because I've had a virtual assistants and that from the Philippines, and I really rave about them if you're going to hire them and train them properly. What was the process you went through? Did you go through a company? Did you find them yourself?
Through an agency, that was kind of aligned with Cactus Insurance at the time. So that kind of worked out pretty well. Cactus had quite a few of the remote staff just helping in the back end. With some of the, just the insurance admin. Yeah.
And Cactus Insurance is an insurance company that you're also an investor in, right?
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. We helped, was one of the founding shareholders of that, which, we'll go into. But, went through an agency, and the onboarding process was difficult as far as finding the right person, and then training was difficult as well. But once you started to learn a bit more about their way of thinking and how quite literal they are, you can't spin a joke with them.
No.
And especially because you're on message as well quite a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I find it easier to communicate with message because they struggle with our accent, Kiwi accent. So a lot of it's on message. So and they're very, very very, very literal and specific. So you've got to be very careful about your wording because they will execute it exactly the way you type it. Quite often I'll get them and be like, "What's this?" And then I'll go back to my message. It's I literally told her to do that. Idiot.
She does what? What is she responsible for?
She does. Just a lot of the stuff that I need support with, or that's going to save me time. So a lot of the I'll do all the high end stuff, and then I'm hey, I just need you to execute this into a spreadsheet. I need you to do price comparisons. I need you to chase up invoices, chase up quotes from guys. Process or create contracts, process for me to edit, and everything gets edited and reviewed by me. But instead of creation, it's just review.
Yeah. So you do the last 10%, and she does.
Yeah. I need you to load all the invoices into Xero and everything for for my approval for paying, run the batch payment, and all that kind of stuff. That ends up being that's something that I used to have to do all. It's ended up being a real asset as far as time goes for me. Yeah.
Cool. And then it's 5, including you. Are you still on the tools, or sometimes? Or?
I am now. Yeah. I've just we went through that period where it just kind of stopped making sense for me to be on the tools because I wasn't really doing a lot. It's on the phone, or I had to go do something else or take off. So that just was that moment of natural progression that happens to a lot of business owners. And I just kind of let it happen as well. Like it took a little while, but I'd had some key staff members that had been in there for a while, and we were intentionally building capability within the business throughout their skill set to take on more of the stuff that I was doing. And that's just growing and growing over time. But just in the last wee while, with some of the projects that have popped up that we're doing, I've had to don the tool belt again.
Yeah.
Which has been really nice, and humbling. But getting match fit takes a little while too.
You're like asking when Smoko?
Oh man, at the end of the day, like, whoa, God. But it's great. I mean, there's actually nothing. It's reminded me there's nothing I enjoy more than being a site manager. It's the best role I believe that we have as builders in the industry. Like, and obviously, like when you're building, like I'm not looking at my phone. Basically, like it's, I'm not looking at emails. Look, I'll deal with that afterwards. You just get to focus on the task at hand with the guys around you and what you're doing. And there's like something really pure and beautiful about that. And it's been really nice to experience that again.
Yeah.
And looking forward to like doing that kind of for the next 6 months.
It's kind of interesting.
Having another go at it.
Yeah, because I had like John Crichton, I think, on like a while ago, and then he even said as well, like he jumped back on the tools. I don't know if he had to or wanted to, or whatever the reason was, but he said it was actually really beneficial because all of a sudden he could see the business from a different angle once again.
Yeah.
And you go, there's actually a few things that are like can be, done more efficiently, or a few things that may be a bit broken, or, you know what I mean? Because once you've stepped out of it, you probably miss that perspective. So as the market...
just appreciate what the guys do again, because what we do is very difficult, and like I've never not appreciated that. I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to be on site, from 7 till 5, and like, our job is very, very demanding physically. It's just nice to get a refresher on that. It's nice and humbling, it's good.
That's cool, man. Yeah. And there's seasons like when the market, it's actually that's why there's seasons, right? It's like the market tips a little bit or dips a little bit. And then there's the opportunity to do these things, work on the business, strengthen the back end systems and process. And then when it's pumping again, then you're more efficient again. So it's kind of like it's kind of good just to.
I've been pretty, pretty big. It's one of the things I think I've been pretty big on in the back end is, creating systems that work and capture everything with as little administration as we can. And to be as efficient as possible, and I've definitely taken that to a level that I'm happy with, and that we can operate now with like basically like me doing everything, right, like QSing, in payments and dealing with subbies and clients, like do it all, but I can manage it with the detail and systems that we have in place, that we've worked pretty hard on. And I know you can always get better, and there's always more software you can integrate, but I kind of like feel like we're kind of at that sweet spot. It's like, hey, this works really well. It hasn't failed us yet. Let's like improve on it where we can, but like, not like just kind of get to know it and refine it even better, as opposed to like, let's change it again. There's this new product. It's like, no, let's just like get better at what we do. Because we've found something that works.
A quick shout out to Forte supporting today's episode. They work across flooring, wall surfaces, exteriors, and more. But what sets them apart is how their timber performs over time. Forte is trusted by architects, designers, and builders, not just for their materials, but for the way they support projects from vision to completion. It's about enriching connections and creating something built to last. Learn more at forte.co.nz. So you've worked on some amazing projects. Like I've seen some of the projects that you guys have completed over the years.
We've been very fortunate.
Yeah. What's the secret sauce, mate? Well, how do you guys get such good work? Is it through architects? Is it through clients, reputation, marketing? How do you guys get the work?
It's a mixed bag, right? Very much a mixed bag. In recent years, it has been through an architect. But before that, it was a mixed bag. It was networks of people, friends of friends, like coincidences. Like I got one literally like this. I literally pulled up to the lights in a sign-written van, and I had my dog out one window, had Loki out one window, and I kind of driving. This lady kind of leaned over, she's like, "Love your dog." Like, thanks. She's like, "Love your brand too." Like, thanks. I'm like, "We're looking for a builder. I'm going to give you a call." And the next day she gave me a call, and we were doing their job. I was like,
That is crazy.
That's great. Like, I love that. You know?
Yeah.
So it was very. We didn't really know the direction it was coming from for the first few years. It was just kind of I was trying to find that formula for lead generation. But it is difficult if you don't have that, if you don't do that first job with an architect that you got along with, and that kind of relationship didn't grow, or you don't have a big network, or or you're not doing them for yourself. It's pretty tricky. It wasn't until it was actually that same job, and the lovely lady that saw our van. It was that job that I got a set of plans that came across my desk to price. I was like, wow, I've worked with some pretty big architects the last few years. They're big names that everybody would know. And I haven't seen a set of plans this good in probably a decade. So I picked up the phone and called him. Like, "Yo, can we grab a coffee?" Like, "Yeah, sure." Went and sat down with him and just told him, "Hey man, I haven't seen detail like this in a very, very long time. Makes my job easy. We can actually price this accurately for clients and know that we're going to be within, like 1.5% or something. We really want to price more of these. Let's do this job. Talk to your clients, see how it went, and if you like what you see, they like their experience. Like, I'd love to price more of the jobs." It just kind of went from there. And we've done quite a bit of their work.
I love that, eh? This is like that personability. It's giving them their flowers. Architect would love to hear that.
Well, yeah. So it's difficult, right? Because I find it very, very difficult to do what I know a lot of other of my peers can do. Especially as far as building relationships with architects. If I don't genuinely like someone, I can't pretend to be your friend. Anybody that knows me will know that.
Yeah, you can't wine and dine and social climb,
I can't small talk. Like, I've either got to go deep, it's all or nothing, and laugh and just can be quite abrasive at times, but that's just me, but if I like you and you can tell. I can't pretend to like people. So I found it very, very difficult in the early years of the business to build rapport, with architects, because in a lot of sense, we're very, very different people, right? Tradie versus architects. It's the office person and it's the on the ground person. It's very, very difficult. So unless you have something in common with them, which quite often I found I didn't, it was very difficult to build a relationship, regardless of how good a builder you are, regardless of how good a job you did.
Yeah.
It's very much like it ends up being a bit of an old boys club. They've got their team that they like to work with, etc. So going there and meeting this architect, I was very, very genuine in my approach. I love what you're doing. I love your plans, and I want to see more of them. And then from there, we actually built a friendship, a genuine friendship, where we went traveling last year together, which is and that just goes to show, I went there with genuine intentions and actually got along with them.
Yeah.
And we bonded in that kind of in that area of the industry, and there not being enough detail and that people not executing them properly. And then we priced a couple of jobs for him, and he was like, "Your pricing is great. It's so detailed." And so we kind of bonded over that level of detail that we both expect from each other, and it just kind of went with it from there.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. I appreciate that, actually, because that authenticity. So when you do like people, they know it's honest.
They know it's real.
Yeah.
I ain't faking it.
So with Constrkt, what sets you guys apart? And I'm not in a sense of sell yourself, but in a sense of if you just have to think about the areas that you guys are particularly good at.
That's very easy. I mean, I've already said it on this podcast. It's efficiency.
Yeah.
Right. So, the way that we teach our young guys, we've got a extreme focus on efficiency in everything that they do. and then pushing them, like if they have a faster way to do it, please tell us. Or if they've worked with another guy and they think it's a better way, please tell us so that we can implement it in our processes and be faster. Having a team that's pretty much in-house. Everyone's pretty much been in-house trained that's there at the moment. No one's come from anybody else. No, everybody has. From a pricing perspective, I know exactly how fast the team's going to work. So from that is a massive advantage for us because our labour costs, as far as pricing goes, can be a lot less than I know some of the other guys have to factor in for various other reasons to do with their business structure and staff structure and capabilities. We have a very, very capable smaller team of super efficient builders that are very versatile, and that enables us to be very, very competitive on our pricing. And that more often than not gets kind of makes for a successful bid for 95% of the jobs that we've priced.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the staff, they're a very valuable commodity. If you can,
it's a very, very unique team.
Yeah.
I started Constrkt because I didn't really fit in anywhere else. I was like a little bit different to all of the other guys for obvious reasons. I was like a bit more intense. I didn't want to go watch rugby or like drink piss after work. I wanted to go to the gym. During my apprenticeship, I had 2 jobs: daytime apprenticeship, and then in the evening, I was part of a doorman, bouncer team at nightclubs, straight out of the army, just to try and make ends meet. I was like, had a lot going on. I wanted to do more. I wanted to succeed, and I wanted to do that as fast as possible. So I didn't really fit in with kind of your average tradie at the time, especially not the older ones. That generation above us that were kind of running things at the time. They kind of looked at me a bit weird as well. Like, bro, that guy's pretty intense, eh? He can't sit still. So kind of Constrkt was kind of born out of creating a workplace that I felt comfortable in, and that other guys that were like me that wanted to learn really fast or or accelerate their careers would be comfortable in too. So the team that we have, we're all not your average builders.
Yeah.
And they're really, really, really lovely young lads, all kind of on their own journey, but we all kind of support each other in that and try and get them there, whatever it is, as fast as physically possible, because it's ultimately it benefits everybody.
So my next question was going to be around that team culture and how you cultivate it, and as a big part of that, guy, encouraging guys to be themselves, leaning
comes from the
into
top down, right?
Yeah.
It helps that it definitely helps like working with a whole lot of young guys that obviously I haven't had a family yet, so I'm kind of they kind of see me a little bit more, and they're like, oh, this guy's and like I kind of really enjoy my music and live shows and going out and bump into them every now and then at them, so they kind of we have a little bit more camaraderie on that front from an employer perspective, which has worked in our favour a lot of the times. It's sometimes to our detriment with some young guys who take a little bit far. But it comes from the top down, and that's training. The site managers that come through and it's like, hey guys, this is you're a builder now, but you're also a leader, and we need to be mindful about the guys below us and the experience that they're having, as what they're going to remember for the rest of life as their apprenticeship. Being really mindful and being really intentional about the experience that we're giving them, as supportive as we can, firm obviously, because this is not easy what we do. We can't sugarcoat it, but being aware and recognizing where they need help. If they're struggling, reaching out to them, like, hey man, you don't seem yourself. We have an open door policy, culture wise. It's like, you come and talk to me whenever you want. Put the whole boss thing aside. I'm here to support you in whatever's going on in your life, and I will do whatever I can to help, within my power. And that's probably the biggest thing that we have within the team. We like to do social stuff, and everybody loves to do that, and we probably do slightly more extreme social stuff than sometimes people like do skydiving as a team and bunging and stuff like that. Really rattle everyone's cages, but. I think that's the most important part from a culture perspective, is really having having that open door policy, that you can talk to anybody in the company, even come to me, and I'll take my boss hat off and we'll just sit there as men and let's just have a chat. Like, I've probably been there, mate. So just use my experience or one of the other guys' experience, because if you've kind of got yourself into spun yourself into a bit of a mess, and like you're frustrated and you can't talk about it, like we've probably been there, so we can at least share our experience with you, so that you know that someone else has been through it, or that like how to get out of it, or how we've gotten out of it in the past, which has happened like multiple times over the years. Like I've had conversations with young guys that, like, when we first a couple of minutes in, they start, like, their chin starts quivering and like tears start rolling. You're like, oh man, like so glad we're having this conversation. Like, what's going on? Yeah. And then afterwards, they're like, thank you so much. Like, I didn't expect that. And like, obviously didn't expect to cry, but like, I feel heaps better now. Like, cool. Well, that's what we're here for,
What do you think is like, what gets young guys to that point? Like we're all people, we all deal with shit. Life's life, nothing, it's not all going to be easy going.
I'm sure you've had the same experience.
100%.
You run businesses and have external pressures. I'll tell you what, young guys get there, but we all get there, right? Like we, even when we get older, we get into the same situation, the amount of mates that I have at my age. And like people, I've talked about this a couple of times in the last few days, because a couple of guys have mentioned to me the alarming suicide rates in the industry at the moment. And, it's no surprise. Like, you look at what we like as builders, and eventually, if you do decide to start your own business, and I urge everybody to be very, very cautious and mindful about that decision before they go launching into it. But as a main contractor, we have the most liability out of everybody else. We have to liaise with all of the sub-trades, not just the people, like their staff, but all the individual businesses from an administration perspective and like cash flow and money. We have to deal with our own staff that can be volatile at times. We have to deal with clients who can be volatile at times for no fault of our own. Some of them is like dealing with 40-year-old toddlers. It's like, it's outrageous, and that changes from like month to month to month depending on who you've got. You've got to be literate with these architects and understand like all of the design. You have to be an accountant to some respect and understand how all of the money works. You manage cash flow. You've got to be a marketer. You've got to wear all of these hats, and there's plenty more that I haven't rattled off. You've got to wear all of these hats, and the guy that's wearing the hat is literally the most unqualified guy on the planet to do it. He's left school at 16. He has zero training in any of these things. He had no teaching in his apprenticeship, because there isn't a section in your apprenticeship about managing sub-trades and managing the emotional stability of clients when they're under extreme pressure. So you've got this kid that's completely unqualified, does his apprenticeship, starts a business, and then is thrust into this world of responsibility. And the pressures that come with that, you might have a couple of $1 million contracts. You think, yeah, this is great. And then you got 4 jobs on. 2 of the clients start kicking off because they're unhappy about something they have no understanding about, and all of a sudden it's your fault because they've had a conversation with the architect, and now they're both coming at you and they're threatening some kind of like court action or whatever, and you're trying to manage cash flow here, and your staff calling you, and you're like, that's high pressure situations for people, for young guys that like have had no training in that and like really have no understanding about how to deal with it, just literally learning on the job every day. So I think it's, specifically in our trade, it's pretty easy to get into that situation. I've been there plenty of times, days where I can't get out of bed, just like swamped with what feels like depression. Like, what did I do to deserve this? Like, this is awful. Who said this was a good idea? owning a business, this is supposed to be great. This is horrific. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. Like, oh, how do I tap out of this?
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to get there in what we do. It doesn't take a lot of things to go wrong. And especially now, with the amount of liquidations going on and the amount of pressure people are under from a cash flow perspective, and we're no different. It's it's tough.
What have you learned around? I definitely agree with all of those elements. It's crazy. What have you learned in terms of how to manage before it gets to that point? Be able to manage people, whether it's being a bit more firm or sticking to your contracts better, or what if you learn so guys can just sort of, because I see builders being so nice and they say yes to things they shouldn't say yes to, and it snowballs, and then they find themselves, everyone's angry at them. All they did was do a bunch of nice things that they probably should have said no to, right?
Yeah, I think ultimately the learning experience has been reading people better. So we won't take on jobs now if I see a red flag with a person. The first thing I do with someone, no matter how big the job is, I won't get them to send me the plans, but I'll come and meet you tomorrow. And I'll go there and they think I'm looking at their house and I'm looking at them and asking them questions, because I want to know who I'm potentially about to get into a contract with. And I want to know what their behavior is like and how they deal with stressful situations. And if I get any inkling that they aren't well prepared to do that effectively, then I just won't take on the job. That's been the biggest learning, and then the biggest kind of change that's helped us kind of get around those situations is just not getting into them to start with, but recognizing where the issues lie and reading people a little bit better.
Yeah, because if it's the wrong person, it doesn't matter what the situation is.
Doesn't matter the job, doesn't matter how attractive it is, how much money you think you're going to make. Like, it might be a $1.5 million job, $2 million job. You're like, oh, it's going to be great for us. But then as soon as they kind of start showing their true selves or their true intentions, you're not in. You just haven't got a $2 million job. You're stuck in a $2 million contract that you now have to execute, knowing that you're either going to not make any money or you're going to go backwards on. And that's even harder,
Yeah. And that probably reflects on the no drama policy that you have in your life. So that all comes from there, I imagine. But what are some examples of, I mean, maybe you can't even think of it because it just comes naturally, but do you have examples of sort of questions you could ask them in those first meeting, or just try to see if you can, any red flags pop up, anything they say or anything like that practically, or not?
Not really. I mean, it's you
get a vibe.
I kind of work off energy, right?
It's like a vibe
I work
check.
off energy off people. And just kind of small talk questions. Oh, hello, how long have you guys been in the house? And kind of asking kind of their background and how long they've been in the house. Why are they planning on doing the renovations? And less about the actual thing and more about kind of them and their family and what's their reasoning and try and get a little bit of history out of them, and just from people talking and the language that they use and the way the words, the specific words they use and how they say them is generally kind of how I tend to get that energy check.
Yeah. How do you structure?
Because you've got a very short period of time, right?
Yeah.
And you can't be like, hey man, how do you deal with paying your bills?
Yeah.
So you got to be very kind of delicate about it, but in a very short space of time, and just kind of you just learn over time.
Yeah.
Dealing with people,
And so obviously that's a really good one. Is there any way you structure your contracts to avoid conflict in the future, or do you think?
Look, we use because we are registered master builders. We have been for a while, and we just use their contracts. They've been surprised. I tried them maybe 5 years ago, and they've been great. Everybody that we've had use them as I don't know whether it's the brand credibility of master builders or whatever, but they're like, no, cool, this is great, and they get their 10-year guarantee, and it kind of puts the whole thing at ease and makes it less of a barrier to entry, just kind of an administration process,
Yeah.
Not that they kind of I think it takes the worry out of it for them, that it's that it's been it's put forward by a trusted brand, and it's their literature, not our specific literature. it works for us too. It's lots of great builders protections in there, and some good client stuff as well. So I feel like it's a well balanced contract, and it's served us very well.
Yeah.
The last few years, yeah. So much so actually that I'm quite excited. We have our first entry into the House of the Year awards through Master Builders.
Cool.
Their contracts, yeah, which is really, really exciting.
So they're judging that, or they've judged it, or they're judging it at the moment?
They've just judged it. Yeah, so I think awards are in a couple of months. But when I participated in that Apprentice of the Year award competition many moons ago now, and I've got a little newspaper article in the office of like me accepting an award and saying, my dream is to be an award-winning builder. So we've after 10 years of being in the business and finally having, not that we've done jobs that haven't been worthy of it, it's just really difficult. You need the right clients, and it needs to be a well-presented home. And we're very grateful to these particular clients. I went and did all the landscaping straight away. And it's a really beautiful home in its own right, but it's finished, and they're really great to deal with as far as we'll get in, do whatever you need to do, guys. We're pretty stoked to finally have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Through Master Builders, which is neat.
That's awesome. And you guys are doing your own developments now as well. Like you mentioned to me before that you have another sort of entity, and you kind of looking to do more of that.
That's why I binned you off 6 months ago, right?
Yeah.
When you called.
So tell me a bit about that.
Yeah, no, you've heard me speak about clients and their volatility, and me getting rid of the drama in life, and just wanting things to be as enjoyable as possible. This has always been a goal for us, is to build our own homes. Turns out I'm a frustrated architect at heart, and I quite like design. I think you have to be a designer if you're a business owner anyway. Designing homes alongside an architect that I enjoy working with, and then building them ourselves, has been a long-term dream for us. And we're excited to announce finally that we are starting to build our own homes and do our own developments, and not your average development. We're doing anything from high-end architectural homes in Waiheke to subdivided townhouses in Papakura, but not your shoeboxes, like big family homes. Homes that are executed at a very high level that families can grow in, for generations, which we're quite excited about. Delivering something that we feel the market's needed in that space for a very long time, and not these things that are just like slapped up with no thought put into how healthy they are or how they operate.
Yeah. So we're all kind of considered design. What was the name of that? As a different entity, right?
It is, yeah. So we're the development arm of the group is Passive, and that was born out of I think it was through COVID actually. I did we're all running around doing our trainings and trying to frantically rebuild our systems, and what do we do at home for a month? Cracking beers at 11 a.m.
No judgment there, mate. Yeah.
On a Monday. I did. I actually went to the Passive House Academy online, and did got Passive House certified, which was really cool, and something I was quite passionate about. But I opened up that whole side of curiosity within building for me, and we've implemented that with this company for a development arm, using because we tried to get these passive principles reused as in the jobs that we were doing, but it was so difficult because it had already been designed by the time we got the plans.
Yeah.
Or the architects were against it, or didn't know anything about it, or the homeowners had no idea about it. So it was this time of me trying to educate everybody, but kind of falling on deaf ears because it was super technical, and no one really was like, So I was like, right, well, we're going to have to do this ourselves. So let's build our own homes, and let's do them using Passive House principles. We'll still make them affordable. hey, we're not going to make as much money as your regular developer, but hey, they'll be worth a little more. Let's see how it goes, because I feel like, those are the homes that New Zealanders deserve, New Zealand families deserve to live in. So we're going to do that and put our own little flair on them, of course.
Yeah,
Make them
very
quite
cool.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. I think that's probably the way the world's moving anyway, and New Zealand's moving into as well, moving forward around that efficiency. Our homes, I mean, everyone knows that. It's just speaking to the converter here, but our homes perform very poorly in New Zealand.
Some of them do, and then you've got some of them that are overperforming without any thought put into really into the way that they've structured the new regulations and that. So it's a constant battle trying to build things that are going to work around regulations that are getting created by either commercially driven entities or people that just don't really know.
Yeah. I feel like me and you could talk for like hours.
Yeah, how long we got? 3 hours?
We got, yeah.
Pull it up, Jamie.
Keep going, pull it up. But tell me, what advice do you have for young guys? And I guess what advice do you wish someone gave to you maybe when you were a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, 20-year-old getting into the game with people? And, there's, like you say, there are young people listening to this, people looking to, maybe they qualify, thinking of getting into their own business. What would you say?
I would say take some time and think about it. Understand what's involved. Talk to a few guys who have done really well, but also talk to some guys that have failed, right? Because those are the guys you never hear from. And what we do as just specifically as a business owner of a residential building company, this isn't for everybody, man. Like, the burden that you take on sometimes, and you would have heard it on this show from plenty of guys, their stories. It can break a lot of people, and it does break a lot of people. Some really, like, it affects your relationships. Definitely pretty hard to have all of that going on and then walk in the door and switch it off. Not everybody can do that. Some guys can, other guys can't. That feeling of not wanting to get out of bed in the morning when it's all going wrong. Everyone's coming at you from every angle. It's a very unique business to be in, and it can also be very damaging if you don't have kind of the right tendencies or natural tendencies to be able to deal with it. Forget all the glamour stories. I would say to someone to just be very mindful and deliberate about their approach to it. Do their research, understand it from guys that have failed. Most importantly, go speak to them. You can. I know guys that have gone on their journey and 2 years in, they've got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt, and it's going to take them 10 years to get out of that hole. Like I said to my guys, I was like, look, you guys can go start your business if you want, but like, you see the rubbish that I have to deal with, like, and they're like, yeah, because I'm quite transparent with the guys, right? I tell them about the problems that I have, like whether it's with people or whatever, and like what I need from them to assist me to like do it better. But I'd always say to young guys, like, you can make just as much money in the same period of time as a business owner in this game if you make a decision early, put your mind to being the best version of whatever it is you're trying to be, and just execute that really well. Like, you can make just as much money. By the time you like make your wins and make your losses and make your wins and make your losses, you all end up being about the same, but at least they have a bit. If you did it that way, you have a bit of consistency. You don't have to think about it after 5 o'clock. You can it's the quality of life I would feel for someone would be a lot better. And had I have known the lengths of which I'd gotten myself into within this industry and this business in this country, I'd say I probably would have gone about it a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's great advice. To add to it, I was about 5 episodes in of doing Better Builder until I had a conversation with my business partner at a time and selling out of my construction business I was with. So it's, it was good. It's good insight. So now as we come to the end of this episode, Luke, what is success to you now?
Success is to being able to do what I want when I want, and that's like I love building, and I've grown more to love the creativity side of it now. But being able to, for me to be able to do the projects I want to do when I want to do them, that has always been success for me, and that's. People ask me what's retirement look like for you? It's literally just doing the work that I want to do when I want to do it. Because you still got to do something. Why not do something that you're passionate about? Do it with a bunch of guys that you love spending your time with, and do it, kind of off your own back and the way you want to do it. That's success to me. I think if you can have that in your life, you'll live a pretty happy life. Going to kind of get to be the director of it, essentially, and kind of go in the direction that you want to go, but get kind of maximum job satisfaction and enjoyment out of it, which I think is really, really important.
Yeah.
Which not a lot of us get these days.
Yeah. I think that's perfect, mate. Last question. Did you have fun?
Great time. Highly recommend coming on for anybody who's binning Brad off currently.
Just like Luke did. No, thanks so much for coming on, man. This has been real fun. We could honestly speak for quite a few hours. There's a lot of topics.
You should do some longer episodes, man.
I know. I should pull out the 3-hour episode. I think I'll get you back for that one.
Yeah. Man, I've got yarns for days. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. Just trying to think of the audience, having to listen to us all day. They're the real victims. But no, thanks so much. There was a lot of good stuff in there, and some real shit, that people can relate to. So.
Yeah, look, I really wanted to come in here. I didn't see this as a marketing or advertising tool for us. I saw it as an opportunity to speak to a lot of young guys that are potentially making some important decisions in their life, and don't have any real advice as to to what it's like or what they should be doing. And if I can spare someone going through an unnecessary process that's only going to lead down an unnecessarily bad path, then I'm happy.
Yeah, that's perfect. And before I let you go, tell us what radio station you're launching. Tell us about your DJing. People don't want to listen to us driveling on about, the pressing side of construction.
It's way more interesting on our radio station than it is on this, mate.
Tell us about what type of music. Is it like dance music?
Yeah, so, don't like sitting still. So I've had this passion for live festivals and music for years, and everyone just kind of thought it was me liking to, wanting to go party, which
it's part of it, probably.
It's part of it, but I realized actually the music is a really big deal for me. So dance music, all different types of house music. It's been a passion of mine for years, since I was 20, I think. Actually, funny story. Have we got
Yeah. Go for it.
So I've always been a fan of Fatboy Slim, right? I saw him when I was quite young. And he was playing up in the Sky Tower in Auckland. It was a 100-person gig a couple of years ago. I mean, it was 100 people. The promoter, bless him, only put 40 or 50 on sale to the public, and the rest were, industry and his mates. So I was lining up to get one of those. I'm literally your biggest fan, Norm. And I didn't get one. I was distraught. I think it was in December, and the gig was in February. Anyway, it was Christmas Eve. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot my shot. So I got on Instagram, Fatboy Slim, messaged Norm. I was like, hey, mate, I'm your biggest fan. Real cliche. I was like, look, you got this gig coming up. I'm literally no. Do us a solid. Put me on your guest list. He messaged back within 5 minutes. He's like, mate, done. You're on my private guest list.
Wow.
So ended up in the Sky Tower with him, right in front of the decks, my kind of music idol for a really long time. And I walked away from that experience, just spending 3 hours with him, met him twice, had a chat beforehand and afterwards. I was like, right, I think I need to buy a set of decks. Bit the bullet, bought a set of decks. Then they sat on my shelf at home for a year. I didn't touch them. And about 8 months ago, I went to another gig, and I was like, right, this is the time, and started fluttering away. In which time, being me, all or nothing, I was like, right, we need a live stream every Saturday at 4 or 5, so our friends can see us play too, and we can share it with everybody else, because for us, music is sharing. And then, I was like, boom, I started a live stream. what are we going to call it? Going to call it Saturday Prees, because all these young kids like having pre-drinks. It was like, Prees, yeah, sweet. It was like, I needed like a DJ partner. I was like, oh, Brooke, my sister, she was into it as well. I was like, boom, okay, we're doing it together, sweet as. So now we've got this live stream, and like we're doing it every Saturday. It's kind of growing in popularity. Putting out a new episode every week. That goes on SoundCloud for you to like listen to during the week, you know, of our like pre-mixed music.
And where's it live? Is it live on?
So it's we were doing it live on Twitch, you know, the streaming platform, just to start with, and then we get contacted by a couple of like well-known DJs in town. We're like, hey man, like we're doing this thing on this radio station. We reckon you guys should come and do your show on the station. So, oh, yo, like, what's this called? He's like, Planet Source Radio. It's streamed online. It's not a frequency, so planetsourceradio.com. And we've got our show that was always Saturday Prees, 4 to 5 p.m. We stream it on both Twitch and on Planet Source Radio.
Cool.
Now, which is like, so all of a sudden went from just like a couple of months like learning how to like use some decks to like being having a radio show, being like essentially like a radio broadcaster. Like everyone's like, bro, aren't you a builder? I'm like, yeah.
Chuck it in.
And now like we played at Long Room on Friday night. Like we you know, like me and Brooke, like we've you know, we've got like a DJ duo name now, Family, which is spelled in the Norwegian spelling with an IE on the end.
Cool.
Kind of nod to our heritage. And so we're kind of like doing gigs and just having fun, and all our friends come out. And it's just a really cool creative outlet that, you know, you never really think, like I'm 37 now, that that building is always like a fire passion, you know, that you stumble across something that gave you that same kind of fire. I'm like really grateful that I've managed to stumble across something that like so passionate about, and like we're able to have so much fun with, but also share it with everybody else for them to be like visibly having fun with us. So yeah,
that's so cool, man.
Yeah, so you're
just following a random ass passion, and now you're doing all the stuff, and like things just fall in place, right? When you follow your passion. Have you heard of them, Dan? Family? Dan's a regular at the Long Room, not really.
So you can follow us on Instagram at its_family, but we're on planetsourceradio.com as well. But we're like putting together gigs, and all of the links to all our other things are on the Instagram page.
Awesome.
And there, so yeah, go check it out.
Go check it out,
come
guys.
to one of our gigs and come say hi.
And you can play it SoundCloud, play it on site.
All the boys, we've got the boys cranking it on site on Bluetooth. They turn up and was like, oi, this isn't an episode, like what are you guys doing? Thanks for having me, mate. This has been great.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, man. Appreciate it.
Love what you're doing.
That's it for today's episode, and thanks again to Forte for making this week's episode possible. If you're after timber surfaces that don't just look beautiful but are built to endure, Forte is leading the way with a focus on sustainability and craftsmanship and unparalleled performance. They're helping bring ambitious projects to life across interiors and exteriors.